guys, today I'm going to show you how to make another family favorite for the holidays, peanut butter surprise cookies. This is what they look like up close. They're a very cakey, filling cookie made primarily of peanut butter and brown sugar with a Reese's peanut butter cup in the top. One recipe, in my experience, yields about 21 cookies. I always double the recipe. It's an easy recipe to double, so I got 42 cookies out of the double recipe. So if you'd like to see how to make these step by step, continue watching. As always, I like to start my recipes by pulling out all my ingredients and making sure I have everything. This recipe calls for a combination of dry and wet ingredients, just like any other cookie recipe. It calls for 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of packed light brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/2 cup of creamy peanut butter, 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, room temperature, 2 large eggs, 1/3 cup of granulated sugar just for rolling the dough in, and mini chocolate peanut butter cups, chilled and unwrapped. I like using the Trader Joe's ones for this recipe. They look slightly white because they've been in my fridge overnight and now they're starting to thaw out a bit, but I'm going to put them back in the fridge. And I'm doubling this recipe. This is a very easy recipe to double, so that's why you see 1/2 cup of butter, which is 1 stick. I like using Kerrygold. It's actually only 1/2 of a Kerrygold packet. The Kerrygold pack is actually 2 sticks of butter here in the United States, and I've got 4 eggs out. So I'm going to double that recipe very simply and get started. The tools I'm using for this recipe are baking cookie sheets, parchment paper to line the cookie sheets with. I have a big bowl out to put my dry ingredients in so that I can whisk them and sift them, incorporate them, and a large spoon, a rubber spatula. I have cookie cooling racks, of course my festive holiday apron, and I also have my kitchen scale out, a calculator, and an equivalent measures and weights guide, because peanut butter is hard to measure in a measuring cup or something of that nature. So I like to weigh it out. Now, I'm doing a double recipe like I said, so 1/2 cup of peanut butter is for 1 recipe, so I need a whole cup of peanut butter for 2. And the weight equivalent for 2 tablespoons of peanut butter is 33 grams. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter is 1/8 a cup, so multiply that by 8 to get 16 tablespoons as a whole cup. So, in order to figure out how many grams of peanut butter we need for this recipe, we multiply 33 by 8. We need 264 grams. I'll also be using my KitchenAid stand mixer with the paddle attachment. You can make this recipe using a handheld electronic mixer or by hand. Totally capable to make this recipe by hand. The mixer just takes a lot of the work out of it. So let's get started. First, I'm going to preheat my oven to 350. So you want to set your scale to grams, and I'm just using a miniature spatula in a small bowl, and now I'm going to reset the scale so that it can account for the weight of the bowl and start it at 0. So I know whatever I'm putting in the bowl will just be the weight and not including the bowl, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to put in 264 grams. Well, I think that'll be just about it once I scrape this in. And you want to put in a little more because it's hard to get all of the peanut butter out of the dish into the batter. So if you have just a little bit more, I have 3 grams extra here. That will take care of that problem. So I'll put this aside for when we need it in the recipe. Now I'm going to whisk my dry ingredients together in order to sift them. So since I'm doubling the recipe, I will need 3 cups total of flour. And I just use the side of the bag to level out the flour. 1, 2, and 3. I have pre-measured out my other dry ingredients, so half a teaspoon of salt for the double recipe and 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and I'm going to combine those. Now I'm going to whisk all of the dry ingredients together to incorporate and to sift at the same time. This doesn't take a very long time, it's just really a quick, gentle whisking to sift and incorporate the dry ingredients. All done. Have my spoon at the ready for when I need to add the dry ingredients to the wet ones. First, we're going to combine the butter and the peanut butter. The butter has been brought to room temperature, and then beat them together until they're smooth. Add our paddle attachment. We're just going to beat it on medium-low to start. You can see since the butter is softened, it is incorporating already. Bring it up to medium. Bump it up to medium-high. Now that the peanut butter and butter look smooth together, I'm going to add the sugar. I've doubled the recipe, so now I'm putting in 2 cups of packed light brown sugar, which I've measured out ahead of time. I'm just going to add it in while the mixer is off to prevent splattering. And then start slow and build up to medium speed. At this point, I'm going to scrape down the bowl. Making sure everything is getting incorporated well. Make sure to scrape underneath as well. Give it one more whirl. Now reduce the speed to medium. And add your eggs in one at a time. Now I've cracked them all into one bowl. I just let each yolk slip in one at a time. And as I mentioned many times, I've doubled this recipe, so instead of 2 eggs, I'm doing 4. I let it incorporate a slight bit before adding the next one. With the mixer running, I'm going to add my vanilla. For the double recipe, I need 2 teaspoons. I always put in a little extra vanilla in most of my baked recipes. I just fill the teaspoon very, very full to overflowing almost. So I like the added flavor. I'm going to stop the mixer at this point and scrape again. It is important. It just makes the batter that much more consistent and thoroughly incorporated. Now I'm going to put the mixer on low speed. And start adding my dry ingredients, which I have whisked. a little bit at a time. A big heaping spoonful at a time. And I just let it incorporate slightly before adding in the next spoonful, so as to not have all of the flour come flying out of the bowl. This mix for a bit until all of the dough is holding together, then you know it's done. This is a rather thick and somewhat dry batter. Now you can see it's really holding together. It's picking up all the pieces from the bottom, so it's done. Remove the paddle, which most of the dough is stuck to. I'm going to remove the bowl and then remove the dough from the paddle. I'm removing the batter from the paddle. It's very easy. Like I said, this batter is it just sticks to itself very well, but it's not too sticky. You want to make sure you wash your hands again, because you're going to be handling the dough by hand at this point. We're going to measure out the dough using a cookie scoop. I use kind of a large one. This is a 1 3/4 inch in diameter scoop. I like using the bigger scoop like this because when you put the peanut butter cups in, then it just surrounds the cookie really well, which you'll see later. So let's put that up here, and I have put some granulated sugar into a bowl, probably about 2/3 of a cup. It's probably a little bit more than you need, but you can reserve the leftover sugar for use in something else. So I'm going to use my scoop so I have uniform sized cookies. So I'm just going to kind of use the edge of the bowl to scoop them out like so, and then I put it right into my hands. It already kind of makes it into a little bowl, which is nice. A little ball, I mean, a little bowl. So then you roll it together till it makes more of a ball, and then I just kind of coat it in the sugar, just a little bit, like so, and place it on the sheet. I also like to shape them a bit. I just use my fingers and thumb in this manner to kind of flatten it out. It's sort of like a flattened circle. So they look less like donut holes and more like pudgy cookies. They will spread in baking, especially once we add the peanut butter cups. Now the first batch is ready to go in the oven. The cookies go in the oven as is at 350 for about 6 minutes or until they start to puff up before we add the peanut butter cups. When we pull them out after 6 minutes, we'll add the chilled peanut butter cups with wrappers removed and then put the cookies back in the oven. This way, the cookies set before you put the peanut butter cups in them, and the peanut butter cups don't melt all the way because they've been in the oven for so long. The cookies are about to come out. At this step, it is important to be ready because you want to have the cookies out of the oven for as little time as possible. In this time, we are going to put in our chilled peanut butter cups. Make sure you remove the wrappers before you've chilled them so you're all ready to go. It's kind of a quick process. Like I said, I'm using the milk chocolate peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's. I just like that they're mostly unwrapped already. They just have the little wrapper on the bottom. But you can use Reese's peanut butter cups or any other kinds as well. But make sure you have the mini size. They're about 1 inch in diameter. Cookies are going to come out, and I'm going to be ready to pop a Reese's peanut butter cup into the center of each cookie as quickly as possible. There's one sheet. And the other goes in the oven right away. Be very careful because the trays are very hot. You can see they've puffed up a little bit. And we're just going to pop them right into the center. Push down slightly, not hard. Use gentle pressure. You don't want to break the cookie. You can see with this size cookie scoop that I used to make the cookie balls, the peanut butter cups fit perfectly inside. I'm going to put my oven mitts back on, pop them back in the oven. And at this point I will rotate the trays. We set the timer for 5 minutes, and then we should be able to take them out and have them cool. The cookies are just about done, so we're going to check on them. They look good. You want the chocolate at the top to be slightly moist looking, but not running over, and the cookies to be puffed up. That's exactly what we want them to look like. So we're going to pull them out and put them on the cooling racks. Leave the cookies on the cookie sheets on racks to cool for 10 minutes before transferring them off the sheets onto racks to finish cooling. Generally, the cookies take about an hour to cool, the cookie part, but the chocolate will take much longer to set. If you want, you can put the cookies in the refrigerator after an hour cooling at room temperature to get the chocolate to set if you want to give them away or ship them out that day. Otherwise, you have to leave them out for several hours. It takes a lot of time for the chocolate to set at this point. But I find that after an hour of cooling, the cookie part is cool enough that the cookies can go in the fridge for about an hour is all it takes for the chocolate to set. And then you have beautiful, wonderful, decadent, cake-like peanut butter surprise cookies to enjoy. I put the cookies to set in the refrigerator for about an hour, and now they are hard enough to store. Until I put them in their tins, I'm going to store them in airtight, these are just Ziploc airtight containers. So I put a row at the bottom, as you can see, just put a little wax paper in between to protect the cookie from getting too smushed or anything, and fill up the container. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have one more cookie recipe coming up in this mini baking series for the holiday prep. Thanks for watching, you guys. Take care. Bye.